Godzilla Minus One.
That's right.
It's the newest Godzilla movie, but it's not in any of the known continuities. It's a new continuity.
Oh.
We'll get into that. Do we need to? That's probably enough.
Yeah, we don't know. Here's the thing. We don't really know. It's not set in the American Godzilla Monsterverse. No. It doesn't. It's not set in like the original 1950s Godzilla something.
Yeah.
And I looked it up briefly, and it says that it's a movie set in. It says it's the fifth film in the franchise's Reiwa era. But I don't think all of those movies are connected.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't need to know that.
No, you don't need to know that.
Yeah.
Now, on a budget of $15 million, I want to talk about how that is possible or even if that is true. Because how?
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to make worldwide at the time of recording, about $25 million. But I feel like it's not playing in cinemas everywhere. I know here it isn't. We had to go to special screenings, didn't we?
Sure did. It's we're sort of doing sort of a limited release, advanced showings
and
right now.
My screening had like 4 people in it.
Oh, because I went to the IMAX and it was packed. So there you go.
Okay, there you go.
I want to see it as a big spectacle, I think.
It's definitely a big spectacle to check out. So yeah, that's very interesting. It looks like it could be one of those movies where it's just...
a good movie.
A good movie that people go and see and it's fun and people like it and word of mouth. Anyway, what do you think the story was?
Oh, come on, mate.
Yeah, tell me.
God, all right.
Tell me all about it.
All right, okay. So it's the movie begins in the sort of closing days of World War II.
Yes.
1945. And
just like King Kong versus the island.
That's exactly right. And our main character is a man named Koichi, and he's a Japanese fighter pilot who's been assigned to the kamikaze division. Team Kamikaze.
Which a lot of people think is cool, but he doesn't think
it's cool. And so he lands his plane on a small island that's sort of been manned by engineers.
It's not King Kong's island. If that's
not King Kong's island because he doesn't want to do it. And some of the guys are like, yeah, fair call.
Some of the boys are like,
it's all right, man. It's all right, man. Why you don't have to blow. The end's coming of this war.
Yes.
Don't even worry about it. Kick back. Have some brewskis, But he's conflicted. He's like, I feel bad.
Yeah.
I can't enjoy these brewskis. Because they said you should blow yourself up in this plane, and I didn't.
I can't enjoy these Asahi beers, which are probably a Japanese beers,
That's
I
right.
think.
You're absolutely
probably.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyway, go on.
But then, guess what?
What?
Godzilla.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this Godzilla, he's mean as fuck.
Yep.
He's not a nice man.
No, that's right. He's one of the least nice men you'll see in this movie. I would say predominantly nice men in this movie.
Yeah, sure.
Everybody's pretty nice.
Everyone is pretty nice, yeah. They're certainly harsh on each other.
Yeah, that's right.
But there's a general air of niceness about it.
He has some Godzilla-type experiences.
Yeah.
And then he returns to mainland Japan.
It's not looking good there, by the way.
It's not looking good.
Yeah.
His village has been hit by some airstrikes. His parents are dead.
Yep.
Get over it. And no, that's not what I would say normally.
Yeah.
But
it's a movie, and let's get on with it.
Yeah, he's a little bit distraught, and then and he meets he's trying to get his life back together, and then he meets a nice lady, and they're friends, and
that's right.
And then guess what?
Godzilla's back.
Yeah.
And he's way bigger.
Yeah,
and guess what? He still fucking sucks.
That's right.
He's gotten worse, actually.
But this time we got some colourful characters.
Yep.
And they're there.
And
they're all going to team up. They're nice, and they're all going to team up. They got skills.
That's right.
They
want to kill a big lizard together.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a really interesting time period. So it's set, I think as late as it goes is like 1947.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure what the meaning behind this name was, like Godzilla Minus One. What does that even mean, right? And so apparently the concept is that in Japan, who had been devastated by war, they faced the new threat with Godzilla, bringing the country to -1. So they're at zero, they're at ground level, and then it's below that, where they're like, everything's bad, but what if a big lizard made everything worse?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That'd be worse.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I tell you what, Mason.
I like this movie is great.
What a delight.
Prior to this, before we went to see this, we texted back and forth.
Yeah.
Or something, or a phone call. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
And I said, I think this movie will be okay.
There's going to be, I think we talked about, it'll be people in boardrooms being like, what are we going to do? Well, that happens maybe once.
Yeah. The last Japanese Godzilla movie I saw was Shin Godzilla, which is from 2016-ish, which I saw quite recently. And the action in it is spectacular, and I think it's a very good movie. But it is a lot of like people in boardrooms going, have we filled out the correct forms to requisition the equipment to stop Godzilla?
Yeah.
And then there's a bit of action and they're like, back to those forms.
Got to do it.
But this great emotional story.
Yep.
All the characters they've got.
It's not woke. People saying it's not woke.
Is that what they're saying?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There's no messaging here.
Nobody's saying Godzilla's a girl,
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I bought my friend Paul along. Well, he goes, "What are you doing this afternoon?" And I'm like, "I have to see this Godzilla movie."
He's like, "Can we drink heavily?"
Yeah, and I said, "We can, but I have to see this movie first. And he's like, "Can I come?" I'm like, "Sure." And I'm like, bear in mind, I said to him, like, "You are not going to like this." And he's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Because it's a Japanese Godzilla movie in Japanese." And he's like, "Is it a cartoon?" And I'm like, "No, but just that's what this is subtitled." It's like, "Oh, okay." Anyway, we arrived at the cinema, and as we're walking in, he goes, "Why are you seeing this?" And I go, "For work." And he goes, "Why am I seeing it?" And I'm like, "I don't fucking know."
Are you drunk? What's happening?
Anyway, he enjoyed it as well.
That's great. That is good to know. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
But look, all the characters go on like a real emotional journey.
Yep.
You know, so Koichi, he's kind of he's torn up by what happened in the war, and he feels like he abandoned his post, and he didn't get any closure on that sort of thing.
There's a lot of people demanding that he kill himself.
Yeah.
In ways that I don't think he should.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any moments in this movie where he should have killed himself.
Yeah. And so and he is now living with this woman Noriko, who is not his wife, but she sort of decided to start living in his house, and she's
rescued a baby.
She rescued a baby. It wasn't her baby, but she's looking after the baby. So now they're all just together looking after the baby.
Yep.
And like
he's watched them slowly build this life together out of the rubble.
Yeah.
And Godzilla shows up and he sucks.
That's exactly right. And then we got a sort of friend. There's a kind of nosy neighbor lady.
Yep. There's a fun scientist guy.
Yeah. There's a scientist guy. There's a guy who just wants to get in on the action because he was too young to serve in the war.
Yep.
And
33 in real life, by the way.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And they all go on these journeys together, and it all comes together at the end.
Yeah, boy does it. Yeah.
And it's a bit like it's sort of there's some Independence Day to it.
Oh yeah,
Dunkirk somebody compared it to, and I think they're right. And it looks incredible.
Okay, we should talk about this. I've written here
the movie Godzilla Minus One.
Yeah, but how
does
it look like this? And I mean, off the back of it being $15 million.
Now, and of course, it isn't. It's not a 1-to-1 comparison, the US movie industry and the Japanese movie industry.
No, there's a lot of money wasted in the
And I mean, I think probably one of the major ones is that I don't think Japan has the same like star system as Hollywood in the sense that like somebody they'll fill a cast with people who demand $20 million. No,
nobody in this is like a huge star.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware.
Right, but they're all good.
Yeah, they're all good. But I looked into also why this might be the case because I was like, maybe this isn't $15 million because looking at this movie, it doesn't look that way. And I know the director also worked as like the VFX supervisor as well, like people taking on multiple roles and whatever. Apparently, I looked up, there was a website, Animost Studio, and they were talking, and one of the things they said was that if you work at, say, Studio Ghibli, which is the dream for many.
It's pronounced Studio Giblets.
Studio Giblets. The salary offered is relatively low of 200,000 yen per month, which is approximately $450 per year. And apparently for VFX artists...
You said $450 a year?
$450, sorry, per week.
Okay.
Sorry. And apparently for VFX artists, it's not that much different.
Right.
So cost-wise, in terms of like putting something together that looks like this, and a lot of the stuff that like that is done, like a lot of special effects done in Hollywood, it is outsourced to other countries to do, like, like Japan and various other places.
Right, sure.
And that we see for animation as well, because they do it on the cheap and they do it quickly.
Right.
So I think a lot of the cost cutting here is just like people killing themselves to make this look the way that it does.
Right.
And I also saw the point.
But it also is probably shot selection and, the stuff.
Oh, it's definitely all about
having a plan in advance. Again, like when we often talk about the American system, the present day version is the Marvel system or the Disney system, which is, as we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast, it is a case of like just film a bunch of stuff, and then we'll put it together later,
and then we'll put Chris Hemsworth.
And then we'll get the VFX guys to do 50 versions of a laser, and we'll pick one.
Oh yeah,
and then it's going to be pretty bad. It's going to look bad.
And there's one version of a laser in this. I'll tell you that much, Mason.
Mm-hmm. But in this, it's know in advance what you're going to do. Yep. I presume.
There's no like man in a suit Godzilla in this, as far as I'm aware. Mm-hmm. A lot of the more modern Godzillas as well, they still often defer to that.
Yeah, right.
In certain shots, but there's none of that going on here.
Unless he's just a big mean boy, isn't he?
So, mate, it's just mean and rude. Because some of the stuff that he does, and this like harkens back to the original Godzilla movie.
Well, he's a real menace in this. Like we've got.
Well, for those who don't know, he's a metaphor for nuclear destruction. Yeah, like that's what he is.
Yeah, but in all the most recent American stuff, you can tell that they've sort of given the edict to the visual effects guys and the people who are staging all the action stuff. he's avoiding, have him avoid civilians for the most part.
Have him go under a boat.
We don't want to, go under a boat, go around the buildings. We don't want to see him smashing through an office building with people in it or whatever. Yeah. This guy doesn't care.
God,
he doesn't give a hoot, James.
Not only that, he actively goes out of his way. There's moments where he's just like shredding buildings.
Yeah.
Just like apropos of nothing. There's some incredible shots in this. There's a boat chase, and you might have seen the clip online if you haven't seen this movie, where his head's just out of the water.
He's doggy paddling.
Yeah, chasing this tugboat. The atomic blast is insane.
Yeah.
Like the noise and like it's like a shotgun. It's not like this prolonged kind of like, it's just like bang, and then there's just like this huge like shock wave and everything's just destroyed.
And you might be like, sure, but we've seen that in Godzilla versus Kong or whatever, and it's cool, and it is cool. Or you might even be like, I saw it in Shin Godzilla, and it's like a laser particle beam situation. It's a whole new thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's worth the price of admission just to see and feel
how
like...
was that in IMAX, by the way?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Because there's that... It does that thing in some movies where there's that huge blast and then there's a moment of silence where everybody was like transfixed.
Absolutely.
Nobody went, you know?
No. I mean, you did.
No, I kept it to a minimum.
You only did it every
I paused
second time.
and then I'm like, just so everyone knows I could have gone, but I didn't.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Please clap.
The other thing is what I thought was interesting, because when he shows up at the start, he's significantly smaller. He's like a giant
Godzilla.
T-Rex. Yeah.
Not Koichi.
Yes.
He's regular size.
He's regular size. He does not grow. He's the same size throughout the entire movie. Well, and he kills a bunch of these mechanics on this island. He's not eating anybody. He's just throwing people and chopping them. Like he's not interested in.
Now, is that because he's mean, or is it because he's like a shark? Because you know how sharks don't actually like the taste of humans.
Maybe that's it.
But they test them out and they go, no, and then they throw them away.
Yeah, maybe that is that. But yeah, I also think if you are I don't know if he has a huge amount of screen time. It might be 20 minutes for the whole thing. Who's to say? But it's really scattered out quite well, where you're never like, God, I could use some more Godzilla.
Yeah, it's a real good. The pacing is really good in the sense that you never go, boy, what movie are we watching again? You know, it is a Godzilla movie. Okay.
Where we at?
Yeah.
Where we at?
But also, I think we've talked about with the Monsterverse movies recently. There needs to be a good balance of the monster comes in and blows everything up, and you care about the human characters and you think they're interesting and they're on a journey that you can relate to and etc. And I thought all the human drama is really good.
Absolutely.
If this were just a movie about some people getting over the horror and trauma of World War II and having their homeland destroyed and blah blah, I would be on board with that.
Absolutely.
I think it's a really good setting for this.
Yeah.
And
I think the time period speaks. I think it just lends itself to that so well, and just having this era of technology. Gareth Edwards spoke to the director. What's the director's name again? I can't remember.
The director's name is, let me tell you, Takashi Yamazaki.
Yeah, he was saying he was jealous of I should have thought of this, this version of this.
I should have made Godzilla mean.
Yeah, make him mean or whatever. But also, speaking of, the design is something new again. It is that kind of bottom heavy version, so it's quite buoyant.
Yes, right.
He's a big ass boy floating around in the water.
Yeah.
And I think also one of the things that Kong versus Godzilla did, which we'll talk about this week for Caravan of Garbage, not as well. The speed of Godzilla has increased in a way which I think doesn't work as well.
Yeah,
whereas
right.
there's a real slow, it takes him a while to turn and stomp and all of these.
Yeah. And he
things.
he could maybe a tugboat might be able to outrun him depending on the circumstances. So everything feels really tense. Also, because none of these actors are stars, you don't know
who's going to
die, and you don't know. You also don't. Well, I guess it's because I don't watch that many Japanese films, but I'm also I don't know what the structure of this is.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to enact a plan to stop Godzilla, and then the Godzilla's going to kill everybody, and then they're going to have to start again, or I don't know.
Or that's the end of the movie.
Or that's the end, or they're. And I didn't even know how long this movie was going to be going in, and I'm like, okay, or I don't know if. Is this the sort of movie where it ends and everybody's
sad and whatever?
Everybody's is it going to be a horrifically sad ending or what have you? So
yeah,
is it a movie where everybody's got to live because there's going to be a sequel or whatever? And I think that was that really added to the tension for me.
We won't tell anybody that,
That's
will we?
right,
But
never.
we might now in spoilers.
We might in spoilers.
Unless you've got some more spoilery-free stuff to talk about.
Nope, I thought the production art was really good.
Yep. I mean, again, like replicating this time period, all the costuming, it all works really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say best movie ever.
There's also a lot of green screen in that. Like I saw there's very little behind the scenes stuff and like director interviews and things. Like I tried to find a bunch of stuff. There's not that much available.
Well, he should have gone on Hot Ones.
He should have gone on Hot Ones.
Sean Evans would have asked great questions.
I completely agree. Where like, yeah,
Godzilla plays with kittens in one of those ones.
Smash.
He'd smash
This
them.
one wouldn't he?
Yeah, he'd
He's
smash
made
them
and
all,
he's
yeah.
rude.
Yeah.
But and I'm not just talking about like when Godzilla is in it, but there is a lot of green screen and visual effects in this which you would not necessarily know.
Oh, yeah.
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 I mean, stuff that you'd be like, oh, you could just do that practically.
Yeah.
And it's not awesome.
I think I've definitely fallen into the trap of the past of believing when a movie's like, yeah, this is actually VFX free. We did all this for real. And Tom Cruise actually flew the plane into Iran or whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry, into the enemy's territory. I don't know where it is.
North Korea, maybe. We'll never tell.
We'll never tell you. That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, spoilers.
Best movie ever for you?
Yeah, best movie ever.
Nice, yeah, great.
I can't say I've seen any of the Japanese Godzilla movies. And people are saying that this is the best one though.
Yeah.
People are saying.
Well, I mean, again, I don't know. I've seen.
I should watch the original.
Yeah, I've seen the original, the black and white one.
Yeah.
And I've seen Shin Godzilla, and
You've seen some animated stuff, haven't you?
yes, because there were some animated ones where he's set in a destroyed Earth and he's like the size of a planet or whatever.
Oh, that's too big.
There's those ones. I have seen, and I'm sure I've seen clips of like I've always, I like looking up clips of Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla or those
Whoever is fighting.
whoever is fighting from back in the day. So I've seen those. But I ran into a listener
Oh yeah.
who was also at the screening.
Did you drop all your paperwork and like?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
What are we
His
doing?
name I think was Lottie.
Yep.
And he said he's seen all the Godzilla movies, and prior to this, his favorite was Shin Godzilla. Announced this.
Whoa,
so,
okay.
There you go. So
There you go. It's got the Lottie seal of approval.
That's exactly right.
Did you help Lottie pick up his papers, or did you just keep going?
Kicked him into a gutter.
Yeah, I think you could enjoy this even if you're not a Godzilla fan. Also, you know,
Yeah,
'Cause of the
just a
human-
fan of good movies.
yeah, just a human drama.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think this would be a great introduction to Godzilla.
absolutely.
I don't think you have to be like, okay, well, he started out as a metaphor for atomic warfare, and then he became an anti-hero, and now he's the people's champion or whatever. Just a horror movie, monster movie.
Just a mean boy running amok. Anyway, let's talk spoilers.
Let's talk spoilers.
I really like the different ways that they attempted to trap Godzilla or attack. Well, there's one big plan that they go through with at the end, and it's not just put a bomb at him.
Sure, yeah.
It's different, and it's.
I mean, the last
interesting.
plan is just put a bomb at him.
Oh yeah, they do.
Maybe
that.
they should have tried that initially,
No, they had to weaken him, Mason. Using buoyancies,
That's true,
etc. Various gases to sink him and whatever.
Epsom salts and so forth.
That's right.
Bath salts.
Yeah, I really like the idea of these people who had been completely devastated
Oh, you like that,
by
did you?
war. Yes.
Wow.
But let me finish because I have another thing to say.
Okay, great.
And that also that, them coming together, there's no, the government isn't coming to save them.
Yeah,
Because the government had failed them already previously.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're just like, well, someone's got to kill this giant lizard and we'll give it our best go.
Yeah.
And a lot of vets and a lot of people who didn't fight in the war and various ages or whatever come together. I thought that was interesting.
And of course, plot-wise spoilers, of course, Noriko is seemingly annihilated by the
Big nuclear
atomic breath
shockwave.
laser heat ray thing.
Yeah.
But she's fine.
She's all right at
She's
the end.
all right, she's
Did
all
you
right.
know she would be all right?
Yes, because
I thought so, because I thought this man who everybody keeps trying to make him kill himself
Right.
needs to cut some
well, I
some
mean,
slack.
they laid the seeds as soon as when she got hit by the blast, she pushed him out of the way. I'm like, oh, okay, she is dead. And again, because I'm not familiar with Japanese cinema, I'm like, well, in American cinema, of course, she's still alive.
Yeah.
But in the I'm like, well, maybe
Saying
that's
Japanese cinema is as gutless as American cinema.
that's right. I'm like, well, it's probably not as gutless, and she probably is dead.
Yeah.
And then he has, then he can be like, well, it was too late for me to tell my feel, but I'll help the daughter and etc. But then when
he was like, I'll also sacrifice myself.
No, but that's true. But when he brought in the mechanic from the island that he thought he betrayed by not helping at the start, and the guy's like, now hear me out, 007. here's how you activate the bomb, and here's one more thing. I'm like, well, that's the ejector seat.
Yeah.
This is the Dark Knight Rises.
This is Dark Knight Rises.
This is Dark Knight Rises ejector seat. And I'm like, well, he's going to get out of it. And then I don't think they're going to go with, I'm like, okay, well, maybe they could still go with he survives and he raises the daughter on his own, I guess. But then he gets the nosy neighbor gets the telegram at the end, and I'm like, okay, this is all going to work out fine. And I reckon in maybe a lesser movie, I'd be like, well, isn't that convenient?
Yeah.
The woman who was blown across the city by an atomic explosion from a giant reptile. Oh, she's fine, is she?
Yes.
That's great.
She probably fell into a pillow factory.
Oh, Mr. Sacrifice isn't going to sacrifice himself at all. Great. Isn't that terrific for him?
You didn't like the character of Mr. Sacrifice?
You didn't like him at all.
I thought that was really unfair. So this is something.
But it is my favorite Creed song. Mr. Sacrifice.
So he doesn't want to be a kamikaze pilot, so he pretends that his plane has issues, so he lands it on this island.
At the start of the movie,
Start of the movie, where the guy who helps fix the plane later is like, oh, nothing wrong with your plane. Interesting. Mr. Kamikaze, Mr. Sacrifice isn't sacrificing himself, whatever.
Well.
And then Godzilla turns up and he goes, Mr. Sacrifice, listen, there's only one person who can operate the machine gun on the plane. You should run out and shoot
the only
Godzilla.
person trained to pull the trigger on that thing.
Doesn't even turn. You just got to pull it.
Yeah.
And so he runs out to do it, but he can't because it's a big lizard. Then the big lizard kills everybody except Mr. Sacrifice and the head mechanic.
Yeah.
And even then I'm like, that's a lot to put on a guy.
Yeah, and also I don't think it would have worked.
No, it absolutely would not have worked.
It's never really two things that are never really explained or given a definitive answer.
Yeah.
One is that, and I don't think what I think is probably alluded to throughout most of the movie is that Godzilla's basically indestructible on the outside, but he's not on the inside, which is how you can do a big
But I don't even know if that's true because the reason why he grows big is because he's caught. Well,
that was my other
nuclear
thing.
Explosion, and that makes him grow like.
Well, that was
10
my other
times
thing.
his
Is
size.
it ever determined? Do they ever say specifically that it's because he was caught in one of the nuclear explosions?
No, but you just kind of see it, and that's why he you see his eye go rah, whatever.
Oh,
and
of
then the
course,
explosion
yeah,
goes
you
off.
do absolutely do.
And then
right.
at the end, when they blow his head off, and you think he's dead, and he sinks into the ocean, you see he's kind of reforming. So I think the implication is that he basically can come back from any situation, and he'll come back. He's more scaled and scarred and stronger and bigger every time something happens to him. I think that's the idea. That's my opinion.
Like a Doomsday. Do you think he's been inspired by Doomsday?
Maybe.
DC's Doomsday?
But I also...
From the movie Batman v Superman.
Oh, yeah, no, I
Dawn
do
of
think
Justice?
that, actually.
Yeah.
But I also, a thing that I thought, I was like, oh, they actually killed Godzilla. I did not think that would happen. And then I was like, oh, no, they didn't really. It's a big sack of organs.
But
floating in
again,
the
I guess,
ocean.
and I don't know if they're going to do a sequel to this one.
I would say almost certainly.
They didn't do a sequel to Shin Godzilla, though.
Well, I don't
Actually,
care. I
doesn't it?
haven't seen that.
But again, this gives them the opportunity to say, okay, do we bring him back as a villain or a hero?
Yeah.
Because as we know, the original Japanese version sort of morphed into a guy who's fighting even more evil monsters.
Yeah.
So maybe they could be like, well, he regenerated and now he's not mean anymore.
Because we blew up his brain.
We blew up his
And
entire
his brain.
brain.
Is different.
Yeah, he's got a different brain now. Yeah. Well, his body regenerated, then he scooped up the bits of his brain from the ocean floor, then put them in his head.
Now he's a hero like Mark Wahlberg.
That's
Who
right.
could have stopped 9/11.
Yeah.
His words, not mine. Okay. Just to clarify.
Right.
That's what he said, Mason.
Sure.
Yeah. I got some reviews here, Mason.
Okay.
It's from Cthulhu Lemon on Twitter, who says, Godzilla Minus One hits hard and real deep. Never in a million years did I think I would tear up in a Godzilla movie, but this one got me multiple times. Every character mattered to me. Oh, and new best Godzilla ever. Hashtag Heat Ray. Hashtag Baby's Got the Bends. Hashtag Weekly Punter Pod. Guys, please see this.
Baby's Got the Bends, that's a Radiohead reference.
I don't know what that is.
Wow.
We did see it, though, Cthulhu Lemon. And these two are from the Great Mates group, Planet Balls, Great Mates group. You could join it. It's fun.
Well, with a recommendation like that and a very clear illustration of what it's called, I'm sure people are going to find it in droves. Yeah.
Jonathan says, Godzilla mean AF in this. Loved it. Breezy 2 hours. Had a great human story too. Very moving. And Travis said, by the way, top contributor, by the way.
Very nice.
Then you get on the show, maybe.
A little badge.
Yeah. No spoilers here, but when I came out of seeing Shin Godzilla back in 2016, your favorite movie, Mason.
That's true.
I didn't feel like I'd just seen a Godzilla movie. It just didn't have that magic I felt as a kid. Not that movie is bad, just giving my feelings. But coming out of Minus One, I felt like I've just finished watching a Godzilla movie. I haven't felt that way since 1999 when Godzilla 2K came out in American cinema.
Oh.
So there you go. People are loving this across the board.
It. Maybe this will be a sleeper hit. Maybe this will...
I think it will be.
It'll... and again, it'll be... Even if it does decent business over the next month or two...
Yeah.
in the West, it'll make its money back.
It doesn't need to make much.
Yeah.
Because everybody seemingly was crunched to make this. I assume I don't know that for fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also saw the argument made that they probably needed it to look this good because they knew it was probably going to go to Western audiences.
Yeah, right.
And you don't want to put over like a shitty Godzilla movie where people like go, oh, this looks like
is this what
shit.
they like over there? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Which I think, that's
I wonder also,
argument to
like,
be made.
but when we talked about Oppenheimer, it was a lot of like, oh my God, it's that guy.
Yeah.
It's the guy from Numbers.
Oh, you think this was like that?
I wonder if this is like that for Japanese audiences. People are like, oh my God, that's the guy from the soap commercial.
Oh my God, that's the guy from Japanese Numbers.
Right? Yeah.
The original.
That's right.
American Numbers was adapted from Japanese Numbers, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they just called it Numbers as opposed to American Numbers.
Yeah.
They should have called it American Japanese Numbers, in my opinion.
Yeah, sure.
IMO Mason. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, should we move it along?
I think so, yeah.
We've had a good time.
We've had a good time.
But there's more good times to come in life and this show.
Disagree.
Okay, what's the next segment, though?
What we reading?
Yep.
What we going to read?
Whoa!